still online. I was like, Spectrum, baby. You gotta get Spectrum.
Get free fiber-powered internet forever when you add 4 mobile lines. Learn more at spectrum.com/free for life. Whether it's our stories, the warmth of our laugh, or our family's secret sauce, we all bring something different to the table. So make some space. The power of connection is waiting right outside your comfort zone. Learn how you can help strengthen your community at belongingbeginswithus.org/teamup.
Spectrum News Plus. Local stories, connecting communities. Streaming now on the Spectrum News app and free with your Spectrum subscription.
I'm Chris Welch. Here's your Spectrum News in 90. A pair of federal judges ruled Friday the Trump administration must use emergency funds to partially fund food stamp benefits for millions of Americans in November. However, it won't be enough to fully fund the program. The rulings came a day before the Department of Agriculture planned to freeze payments to SNAP. President Trump continues to deny requests from top Democrats to meet to discuss a plan to end the shutdown.
All they have to do is say, let's go, let's open up our country, and everything snaps back into shape.
FBI Director Kash Patel says federal officials have arrested multiple people in Dearborn, Michigan, accused of plotting a violent attack over the Halloween weekend. Investigators believe the plot was inspired by Islamic State extremism, and they're investigating whether those in custody were radicalized online. And the death toll from Hurricane Melissa continues to rise days after the record-breaking storm barreled through the Caribbean. Satellite imagery shows entire communities swept away, and authorities say they are now racing against the clock.
As days pass, people become more desperate. The needs grow and increase, and the concerns increase.
And that's your Spectrum News in 90.
I'm Errol, national political anchor at Spectrum News. This program focuses on the future of our country and its people. And the government shutdown, which has lasted more than 30 days and is now on track to become the longest in American history, is the big deal this week. Tonight, we will break down some of the major impacts of the shutdown, from the interruption of food assistance benefits to dramatic increases in the cost of health care plans and the operations of our nation's airports and military. In the short term, as federal workers across the country continue to miss their paychecks, they are becoming familiar faces at food banks across the country. That includes the Food Bank of San Antonio, where the largest concentration of federal workers in Texas live. Spectrum News reporter Lauren Kendrick takes a closer look in this report.
The line of cars waiting outside of the San Antonio Food Bank is longer than usual. Most are federal workers or their family members looking for help as the government shutdown continues.
To help my son out.
Mark Thogmartin's son is a federal worker in Laredo, who he says had no choice but to move back home with his wife to San Antonio, at least for now.
He's a Border Patrol officer, and of course him and his wife, they have no income now. And they lost their apartment, so they're living with me now.
Border Patrol agents saw a delay in paychecks, and administrative staff aren't getting paid at all. Thogmartin is doing what he can to help his family, including coming here.
A loaf of bread's a loaf of bread, and a gallon of milk's a gallon of milk.
Officials with the San Antonio Food Bank say they have now doubled the number of food distributions each week to meet the need.
Typically, here at the food bank, our curbside would be in the mornings, but we open up the afternoon shifts just to accommodate more people.
Eric Cooper, president and CEO of the San Antonio Food Bank, says he understands the government shutdown has left a lot of federal workers with uncertainty. There's a new wave of folks who have never found themselves in this position before. before.
We really started to see on the 1st of October federal workers looking for food assistance. We also knew that we needed to educate them because many have never had to ask for help before.
Cooper says right now the pressure to provide is felt the most in this part of the state.
This is Military City, USA. We have the largest number of federal workers in the state of Texas here in San Antonio.
The food bank serves a total of 29 counties.
Of the 189,000 federal workers, which includes government contractors, we estimate about 50,000 people will come as a result of the federal shutdown.
And he says they're ready, even as the possible shutdown of other federal programs like SNAP and WIC also complicate the plans. In San Antonio, Lauren Kendrick, Spectrum News.
Joining me now with more are two top political analysts. Holly Gregory is a political anchor for Spectrum Bay News 9 in Tampa, Florida. Jason Fechner is a political anchor for Spectrum News 1 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And Jason, thousands of federal workers have been laid off. Even more have been furloughed. That includes a majority of the departments that are up on the screen right now, including the Environmental Protection Agency, the U.S. State Department. This week, the president of the nation's largest union of federal workers called the shutdown an avoidable crisis and really sided with Republicans in demanding an immediate reopening of the government and giving employees their back pay with no conditions or negotiations. In a statement, AFG's president writes, "There is no winning a government shutdown. They cost taxpayers billions, hurt small businesses, and erode confidence in government itself. A strong America requires a functioning government, one that pays its bills, honors its commitments, and treats its workforce with respect by paying them on time." So now, Jason, does the union's call for an end to the shutdown signal that the Democrats are likely to fold and vote to reopen without conditions?
Errol, wonderful to see you, and it's a great question. And as you mentioned there, up until just a few days ago, this union that represents 600,000 federal workers across the country backed Democrats in their ongoing shutdown fight and then kind of turned the tables on them in this all. The union president, Everett Kelly, told Politico that he saw some federal workers who've been furloughed waiting in line for food donations, and for him, that was the last straw. He then called on Democrats to give up their ongoing fight to get the Affordable Care Act subsidies on the table and basically called on Democrats to support the Republicans' bare bones measure to simply get the government open and deal with any consequences from that after the fact. A lot of the union membership, though, rank and file members across the country and local union leaders have said that Kelly's call for this basically undermines Democrats' negotiating standpoints, and they're standing with Democrats. They're not standing with their union leader in this. Republicans, of course, have celebrated the about face out there, but once again, we'll have to wait and see how this moves going forward. Kelly claims that basically behind the scenes, his call for Democrats to drop this fight now has led to bipartisan negotiations behind the scenes. But once again, at least as of Friday night, those negotiations haven't gone anywhere. Democrats appear to be kind of putting this union endorsement of Republicans on the back burner, rather, into the corner for right now as they continue on with their fight.
Okay, so now, Holly, the open enrollment period for health insurance plans under the Affordable Care Act kicks off this weekend on November 1st. Most of the nearly 25 million Americans covered by the Affordable Care Act don't pay full price for insurance because of the income-based tax credits that lower the out-of-pocket payments. That's about to change. The enrollees are getting a first look at monthly premiums that are going to go up by an average of 26%, but in many cases will double or even triple. I wanted to point out that most of them live in states that President Trump won last year, including your state, Florida, which has the largest number of enrollees, 4.7 million. Why is it so much higher in Florida? Why is it so popular? And what is the level of concern about these rising healthcare costs?
Yeah, these healthcare dollars are at the center of this government shutdown here. And the reason there are so many people in Florida is because Florida was one, first of all, of 10 states, 10 red states that did not expand Medicaid coverage under the ACA. So there's this gap that you make too much money to qualify for Medicaid. And there a lot of people here in this state are in a service sector. We're a tourism-based economy. So they don't make a lot of money to begin with, but they don't qualify for Medicaid. Their employers don't have insurance offered, and so ACA has been very popular here. And if those premiums really spike the way that we see that they're probably going to, that is a vulnerability for Republicans, and we already see early on in the governor's race here in our state this becoming an affordability issue and being brought up. As far as congressional Florida Republicans go, their position is very much in line with the Trump administration that open this government first and then we'll negotiate on health care dollars. But we want to have an honest conversation about what ACA has actually done to health care costs. They have not gone down. They've only gone up. It is a government, induced price spike constantly to pay out to these insurers. Not only that, but the enhanced premiums that this battle is over that were supposed to be temporary during COVID, a lot of that is going to people, they say, that make six-figure incomes, and that this is just simply not fair, and it's just a big payout to insurance companies. So open the government, they say, and then we'll talk premiums.
Okay. Now, Jason, also this weekend, more than 40 million people who rely on the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP for short, were scheduled to stop receiving money to put food on the table. On Friday afternoon, at least 2 federal judges ordered the federal government to use contingency funds for SNAP food payments, thanks to a lawsuit that was brought by a couple of dozen states, including Wisconsin. How many people is this going to affect in your state, and how have state officials been preparing to keep people from going hungry?
Errol, still so many questions as we go into the weekend, and in the last couple of weeks now, 700,000 Wisconsinites out there received these food share benefits, as they're called in Wisconsin, and that includes roughly 266,000 kids all across our state. As for, getting these community food drives up and running out there, that has been on both the state level and the city and county level. Here in Milwaukee County, the city of Milwaukee, they've got 15 different donation drives now set up and running as of Friday, regardless of those judges' decisions out there, to try to collect as much food as possible, to try to stock up these food banks, because the uncertainty could continue out there. And they say they're going to continue these big food drives until all of this is resolved and until these food share benefits begin to roll back in from the federal government. Those 15 sites are across the city of Milwaukee, a big one over at Fiserv Forum just across the street from us, where the Milwaukee Bucks play out there. And on the statewide level, of course, you mentioned the lawsuit that appears to be successful, at least going into Friday night from the governor's standpoint out there, but he's really rolling a lot of this in with the farmers as well out there. He's saying that the food share benefits impact our farmers, and our farmers are already negatively impacted by the ongoing tariff fights out there. And, so many soybean farmers out there have been waiting for any resolution as to what would happen with China this week and the tariffs out there, and how many of these soybeans would get exported out there. So he said this is all intertwined, and Republicans and Democrats really need to find some answers and find them fast.
Okay, let's pause the conversation right there. We've got more to talk about with this government shutdown, and we'll do just that after a short break. Stay with us.
At Spectrum Noticias, we recognize that our community is vibrant and diverse.
Spectrum Noticias delivers balanced coverage of the stories that matter in our communities and across the country.
Our journalists are based in the neighborhoods we cover, ensuring you get in-depth reporting on what's happening in the places we call home.
So join us at Spectrum Noticias. We're always on, always there for you.
Now available on your TV. Check your local listings. Also available on the Spectrum News app.
Spectrum TV, isn't that only live TV?
No, it's only all my favorite streaming apps with live TV.
Okay.
It's only all included at no extra cost, and that's the magic of math. Will this be on the test? Sure, why not?
It's only one simple payment for all our TV. We gotta simplify and win. Winning is equally important.
If not, more so.
Yeah!
Only Spectrum TV, fixed TV.
Being a cowboy, well, I don't know anything different. I had a very successful career. Life was fast. I was preparing physically. I wasn't doing anything mentally. And then I got hurt. I dug into mental health. I wanted to be better as a person. I start my day with a workout. I live life 8 seconds at a time. Find a place to stop and just breathe. Love your mind.
I'm Sandra, this is Jorge, and we were adopted in 2019.
I remember when they first came to us, Michael was already a teenager. The whole cliche of they're so lucky to have you guys, and it's the other way around. They have changed our family for the better. They chose to love us. They didn't have to. They chose us. Family.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org.
Welcome back to The Big Deal and our focus on the impact of the government shutdown. I'm once again joined by a panel of Spectrum News political anchors. Holly Gregory joining us from Tampa, Florida. Jason Fechner in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Holly, the Trump administration scrambled this week to find $5.3 billion to pay U.S. troops for the third week. Is that workaround legal? And how many more weeks can the administration keep it up?
That is a good question. The administration says through November 15th, and today was payday for the troops. Our military members did get their paychecks as scheduled today, and it was all due to some creative accounting. Basically, the administration pulled from 3 different pots of money, some from the big, beautiful bill, some from Pentagon reserves, some from research and development. Now, some critics have argued that that's not legal because it goes against the Constitution's appropriations clause. However, I don't think you're going to hear a lot of political voices really echoing that, because it's just not good politics to say, no, wait, we don't want to pay our troops. So we'll see. Right now, they've got enough money to be paid through November 15th. And we have a lot of military bases here in Florida, so there was a lot of relief when they heard they would get those paychecks. And, hopefully this doesn't extend much further, because November 15th isn't too far off.
Okay. Jason, the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office estimates that the shutdown has already cost the nation $7 billion in economic output. And of course, economic performance is one of President Trump's core political promises. It's part of his brand. Will the risk of an economic slowdown maybe spur the White House to get negotiations with the Democrats going?
Errol, and that's really the million-dollar question at this point now, so many days into this shutdown, is what, if anything, will get President Donald Trump and Republican leadership to negotiate with Democrats. Republican Speaker Mike Johnson has said that they want to negotiate with Democrats, but Democrats won't relent on the Affordable Care Act subsidies and getting those on the table, as Holly so eloquently summed up just a few minutes ago. To your question, though, about whether or not any sort of, economic downturn could potentially move things along, my short answer is I really don't know at this point. President Donald Trump, right or wrong, seems to be emboldened about the overall state of the country's economy right now. He talks so much about the tariffs and bringing trillions of dollars in for the economy out there. You talk about, hundreds of billions of dollars in these new economic deals that they talk about with different countries out there. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, of course, talking about $550 billion coming in from Japan. So they seem to be very entrenched about the state of the economy overall. And to be quite honest, I don't know if, certain parts of the economy, whether or not there's a short-term downturn, if you will, for the time being, if that's enough to get President Donald Trump to relent, at least at this point.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. In our economy, $7 billion is actually maybe not all that much money. Holly, on Tuesday, air traffic controllers missed their first paycheck. Absences have increased as a result. That, in turn, has disrupted dozens of airports around the country. I know especially near you at the Orlando International Airport. With the holiday travel season right around the corner, is this going to be a pressure point, I guess, for lawmakers to make sure we don't have a disaster around Thanksgiving?
I think it's already a pressure point, and it's building. It was an absolute mess at Orlando International yesterday, with delays of up to 12 hours. And at our airports around here, we've been doing stories this whole past week about, they have food pantries set up. They have places where workers can go pick up diapers. And, nobody wants to see this. Nobody wins in a shutdown. Americans just inherently don't like them. There is something so very wrong and, a visceral response to seeing hard workers out there doing their job and not not getting a paycheck. And now you're getting the downward pressure of that at the airports. And you've got the air traffic controllers coming out and saying, hey, pass this clean resolution. Let's get back to business. You have all the major airlines saying exactly the same thing. And if people start to, stand in line for hours and miss their flights, and it just gets worse and worse, now we've got ground stops, happening around the country, that is going to put a lot of pressure. In fact, it was, seeing this sort of thing play out in the last shutdown that really applied the pressure to end it. So this could be part of the end game here if things only get worse, and they're certainly not going to get better unless the government gets open.
Okay, thank you very much, Holly. Thank you, Jason. We're going to take a short break, but we're not done just yet. Coming up next, we will preview the race for mayor of New York City, which is coming up on Tuesday and making national headlines. Stay with us.
The stories that touch our border affect us all. That's why at Spectrum News Plus, we don't just cover these communities. Our dedicated reporting team also calls them home. That perspective allows us to take an in-depth look, going beyond the politics, to see the impact on people's lives and what it means for you and your community. Balanced border coverage that tells the full story here on Spectrum News Plus. Available on all your favorite devices, exclusively on Spectrum.
It's only a game. It's only a little rivalry. It's only a ritual. When I come home and a few generations. You're always there. And only Spectrum TV includes all your favorite streaming apps with live TV at no extra cost. It's only a game. It's only everything.
I wouldn't do that. What are you doing? What are you looking for?
Mom was always organized, but she started forgetting to pay her bills on time.
And she'd buy the same gifts over and over. Telling the girls about my Alzheimer's diagnosis was really hard.
At first we had our cries, but then we were like, okay, let's make a plan.
Early detection gave us time to adapt together.
It's so important for you to think about what you can do and making the most of what you have.
If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
Thanks for staying with The Big Deal. We are just days away from Election Day, and there are a number of important races on the ballot across the nation. That includes the gubernatorial contest in Virginia and New Jersey, and a statewide ballot question on redistricting in California. There are also several key mayoral races taking place around the country, including some of the ones on your screen. Today, we will preview the high-stakes race for mayor of New York City, which has very much been in the national spotlight. The contest is between the frontrunner, Democratic Socialist Zoran Mamdani, who won his party's nomination back in June, and his main opponent, New York's former governor, Andrew Cuomo, who is also a Democrat, running, though, as an independent after losing the Democratic primary in June. And there's a third candidate in the race. Republican candidate Curtis Sliwa is making his second run for the job after an unsuccessful effort in 2021. President Donald Trump, whose hometown is New York City, has been weighing in on the race.
It comes through the White House. The funding for New York and for every place comes through the White House. And I'm very generous, and I was always very generous with New York, even when you had opposition there, but I was always very generous. But I wouldn't be generous to a communist, a guy that's going to take the money and throw it out the window, because you're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars.
Joining me now with more on the race is Bobby Kuza, a political reporter at Spectrum News New York 1. Good to see you, Bobby. And President Trump is a New York City native. He ended his campaign at Madison Square Garden last fall, as a matter of fact. But New Yorkers have rejected him 3 times. The city voted against him in 2016, in 2020, again last year. Does he have the ability to sway votes in New York City?
He's certainly not a beloved figure here in New York City. Not to say that there aren't Trump supporters in the city. And in fact, there was some thinking for a while that he was going to insert himself in this race, that he might actually try to exert some pressure on Curtis Lee, the Republican, to get out of the race, and exert pressure on the current mayor, Eric Adams, to get out of the race. He ended up getting out of the race on his own. But all of that in order to block Zohran Mamdani from winning and helping Andrew Cuomo, who, as you said, is also a Democrat, but running as an independent. None of that ended up happening. Donald Trump did not directly insert himself in the race, but he has talked a lot about Zohran Mamdani and kind of portrayed him as this radical communist. And we hear that a lot from those on the right. So he says, if Mamdani is elected, he's going to cut off funding to New York. He's going to send federal troops here. And so, that's a real threat. And that has become an issue in the race. How is he or his opponents going to respond to Donald Trump if Donald Trump, tries to involve himself in the affairs of the city?
Yeah, national figures are really picking up on this. In fact, this week, the Republican Speaker of the House said that Zohran Mamdani, a Democrat running for a local office, is somehow part of the shutdown in Washington. This is a little bit of what he had to say.
Mamdani it looks like he's going to win and be the mayor of New York City, and Hakeem Jeffries came out and endorsed him. That's all you need to know. Hakeem Jeffries is terrified that Mamdani, one of his disciples, is going to challenge him in his own seat in the election next fall. You've already seen that rumored. Some of you have reported on it. So he had to do it. He had to endorse socialism. He had to endorse Marxism, this dangerous ideology that has taken over the Democrat Party. This is not the Republicans. This fault is squarely on the shoulders of the Democrats, and they're the ones causing you the pain, and don't ever let them forget it.
So give us a reality check. Are mainstream Democrats like Hakeem Jeffries, quote, terrified by the rise of some of these progressive candidates?
Terrified, I think, is a strong word, but there is a grain of truth here in the sense that, Zohran Mamdani, does he represent the future of the Democratic Party? He has this economic populist message that has clearly resonated here in New York City. And then you have people like Hakeem Jeffries, who's more of a moderate Democrat, and he's not sure what to do. Does he embrace Mamdani when the right is who's trying to paint Mamdani as the face of the Democratic Party, but also as this radical extremist? Does that hurt Democrats across the country who maybe are more moderate and are running in districts where you don't have a lot of Democratic socialists, right? The way you do in some precincts here in New York. So there is some element to that where people like Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer, the Senate Minority Leader, are kind of walking a tightrope. They don't know what to do with Mamdani. But I think the idea that he's somehow at the center of the government shutdown is a little bit of a stretch.
Yeah, and for those who don't follow New York politics closely, there are a lot of Democratic socialists who have run. We hear about the ones who have been successful, like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, or perhaps if he wins, Zohran Mamdani. But there are a whole bunch of other folks who have run and lost.
Yes, and there are many who have lost. There are some who have won on the state level here in New York, who are state lawmakers. But Zohran Mamdani would certainly be the most high-profile, successful Democratic socialist to win office here.
All right. Thanks very much, Bobby Kuza. And thank all of you for joining us. We'll see you next week. Stay tuned to your local station.
Friday nights, The Big Deal with Errol Lewis, where Spectrum News' local political journalists break down the most important issues shaping our nation.
Here's the deal. People need a place to explore national issues that have an impact on their community. To understand those issues better, we're bringing together our team of local political journalists from across the country to break down what's happening So join us every week to catch up on the key stories making a big difference across the nation and in your local community.
Watch The Big Deal with Errol Lewis Friday nights at 9 Eastern, 8 Central on Spectrum News Plus. Available on all of your favorite devices exclusively on Spectrum.
It's only a slice. It's only made possible by Spectrum, connecting businesses of all sizes, like small businesses, instantly serving up orders and inventory on the Spectrum Fiber broadband network. And factories, seamlessly connecting to farmers in the field with tailored solutions that always deliver. It's only a slice. It's only everything. Get your business free fiber-powered internet forever. Call to find out how.
Weather can be beautiful, inconvenient, and at times powerful. And it affects everything we do. At Spectrum News Plus, our weather experts update you with the information and the context you need so you can better plan your day. And we do it every 10 minutes. We're the calm in the storm. Weather on the Ones on Spectrum News Plus, exclusively on Spectrum. And get your weather anytime on the Spectrum News app. Spectrum News Plus. Local stories, connecting communities. Streaming now on the Spectrum.